Hi everyone and welcome to the Midday Muster, the country music talk show that includes interviews with industry members, live performances from artists of their brand new singles, plus we look at all the country music news happening this week. My name's Dani Young and I'm your host for the Midday Muster. I'm a recording artist, I write my own songs, I go on tour and I'm an all-round musical lover. So I thought I had to bring you a show like this while we're all sitting at home, not able to go to gigs for a little while. And I wanted to start today's show with a pretty special announcement. You know the music you just heard a few seconds ago as the Midday Muster flashed up screen? Well, actually, that is a snippet from my brand new song, Outback Lullaby, that is out today. I've been sneakily giving you a preview for the last 4 weeks on this show in our opening credits, but today is the day you can actually go and listen to the full song. So it's inspired by my time traveling through the Northern Territory, across the outback and sleeping under the stars in swags. So here is another little snippet from my new track, Outback Lullaby.
An outback lullaby.
You can find my new song on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, YouTube, and of course I'd love you to request it at your local radio station. But on with the show. We'd love to hear from you at home. Here's our question of the week. What is the best live stream you've watched this week? Was it a concert? Was it a talk show? A festival? A virtual festival? A quiz show? Or something else? Let me know what you've been watching in the comments and we'll bring them up on the screen and read them out throughout the show today. But first, let's take a look at what's happening in country music news as we turn to the roundup. The Tamworth Hats Off to Country Festival will be going ahead as a virtual concert series next month. Organisers said despite the easing of COVID-19 rules, it's not clear how many patrons will be allowed inside venues at the time of the festival. So instead, artists will live stream and pre-record performances for the 4 nights of the virtual festival. The Dani Muster has announced its lineup for the October festival with the hopes the festival will still be able to go ahead. Performers include the Angels, John Williamson, Troy Cassadaly and the McClymonts. However, a final decision on whether the event can go ahead safely will be made on July 31st. The Australian country music family is mourning the loss of industry executive and artist manager David Woodward. Woody, as he was known, was heavily involved in the Tamworth Country Music Festival, Hats Off to Country and the Golden Guitar Awards, and managed artists including John Williamson, Becky Cole, Shannon Knoll and Andrew Swift. He died from a heart attack last week at the age of 40. And it was an all-Aussie top 5 on the Music Network's Country Hot 50 radio airplay chart. The Wolf Brothers held on to the #1 spot with their track No Breaks, while the Buckleys moved up to second place with Money. The McClymonts were at #3 with I Got This, Darlinghurst #4 with Picture Frame, and Keith Urban was rounding out the top 5 with Polaroid. That's it for the roundup. Let's welcome our first guest to the show in our Industry Spotlight. In this segment, we are shining a light on members of the country music industry who often stay out of the limelight, or behind the lens in this case. Joining us today is Christopher Liddle, otherwise known as Mr. Red Earth, a photographer who has photographed just about everyone in the Australian country music scene. Welcome to the show, Chris. Thanks for joining us on the Midday Muster today.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jenny. Thanks for inviting me. This is awesome, and good luck with your new single come out yesterday. Was it at that lullaby?
Well, it actually came out today. There was a little bit of a
Today.
time zone mix
Awesome.
up, but it came out today. But thank you very much.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, how did you get started in photography and specifically in country music photography?
Um, Pretty much by accident. So I went to some gigs, just some pub gigs in 2014, and listened to some of the music. And one of the musicians was going to Tamworth. I just happened to buy a camera that year, a half decent camera, not as good as what I've got now. I went to Tamworth in 2015. I was there for about 3 days, just a short little view of the festival. Took a few photos here and there and put them up on my Instagram. Didn't have very many followers at the time. I guess me just being an average person, not a photographer by any means as a job, but just being really pleased how the results came out of the photos. One of the photos that I had was of a Star Maker contestant back in 2015. And there were many photographers at Star Maker, as there always is, but one of the artists wanted to use my photo as their photo to share their Star Maker experience with the world. And I thought that's pretty good. I'm brand new to this. I've just started using this camera, and all of a sudden my photos everywhere. It was like kind of their publicity shot for their Star Maker experience. And the photo did come out quite well from I think I was in the third row and took it from my seat, and but it came out nice with the smoke and the band and everything else. And just from there, just to say, well, this is something that a lot of artists are interested in, I suppose, and something that a lot of
Mm.
artists need. So I was just a tourist enjoying the festival, and I had I think a couple of other artists reposted me as well. So just that encouragement to say that my photos are worthy or as good as these pros that get these media passes, and it sort of made me want to keep going and do better the next year. And I did. The next year I did a full 10 days at Tamworth, which was really nice. I've
Mm.
always liked photography though. Like as a kid, I used to have one of those old film cameras, little point and shoot type film cameras. You had to go to the chemist and get them developed and all that. So I always used to like taking photos of people.
Mm.
But just the response I got from the few photos that I took as an amateur going in, that they're good enough to be shared on social media and being chosen above some of the pros. It kind of gave me a bit of an ego boost for the next year, thinking, well, maybe I'll do a little bit better next year. So yeah, kind of by accident. So I didn't actually get a job as a photographer. I just turned up with my camera, took a few shots, and kind of snowballed from there. So it was really good. Nice,
Well, I
nice
guess all the
spending things.
pros I guess all the pros do have to start as amateurs at one point or another. And starting in photography just because of your love for the gigs and for taking photos is a great place to start. How many gigs do you think you've been to as a photographer?
I'm not sure actually. I mean, at Tamworth, I'm there pretty much all day and night, pretty much probably 16 hours a day. I don't even have a proper lunch sometimes. I'm just so eager to capture everything. I don't go without sleep though. I always make sure I get my 8 hours and all that sort of thing. I've lost count. But mainly Tamworth. That's the main thing I photograph. Like the rest of the year, I might go to a few pub gigs, but not much. It's pretty much
Mm.
my camera gets dusted off the Tamworth for those 10 days, and I get enough photos for a year. I don't know how many gigs I've been to. I've just and how many
Yeah.
artists I've photographed. Probably a few hundred. I just lost count.
Yeah, Tamworth Country Music Festival is a crazy time, especially as artists. We're running around playing so many gigs, and it's so important to have people like you taking photos because otherwise it's really hard to share with the world what we're actually doing. We're working so hard, running around, playing so many gigs, but if there's no photo evidence, then how do you prove it even happened to everyone at home? So you've actually sent in three of your favorite pictures that you're going to tell us a bit about today. Let's start with the first shot you sent in, which I believe is Taylor Pfeiffer, or otherwise known as the Banjo Girl, with Troy Cassar-Daley on stage. Tell us a bit about this picture you took.
Yeah. So I was in row L of the auditorium, so I probably shouldn't have come out that good. I must have had a really good zoom lens at the time. But from a photography perspective, when you are down the back, you've got, I guess, more of a wider view as well, so you can see everything, I suppose. So this was my second Tamworth, and this was my first serious one as a photographer. Like I said, in 2015, I kind of took a few photos as a tourist and popped up a few and see how we went, sort of thing. But yeah, I met Taylor first of all in 2015, busking next to the Chemist Warehouse, which she does, and really blown away with her positivity and her smiles and her like just that yodeling is quite unique. I just loved it. So I bought a ticket to Troy Casadale because I thought, yeah, he's a pretty good artist. I should go along and see. Yeah, he's one of the top ones. So, and to my surprise, she was a surprise guest on the show. So I didn't even know she was going to be on the show. But I thought, oh wow, there's Taylor. Oh my god, that's amazing. That's that fantastic girl I saw at Chemist Warehouse busking the last couple of years. So yeah, just by chance, took a few shots. Did it on burst mode, which is in the mode of a camera where you take like about 10 or 11 frames a second, so you can capture the moment, kind of cheat a little bit. So I put it on burst mode and took a few of them. So I've got a whole bunch of them. But this was probably the best one. I just love the emotion in it. So when I saw that image, I've got a Bluetooth connectivity to my camera. Most modern cameras have that. So as soon as I saw that image, I put it up when I was in the car park at the end of the show, going, "Yeah, this is a top, this is a top image." And to my surprise, Troy Casadale posted my image as well as one of his wives. So I put two photos up on his social media, but this is one of them. So I thought, this is pretty awesome publicity for Troy himself, the guy that, one of the top country music stars, me new to photography, put it up on his page, thought it was worthy of all his followers. So that was pretty awesome. But it didn't stop
You've
there.
certainly captured a very special moment here. This would have been a huge moment for Taylor, and to have this captured forever so beautifully would have meant so much to her. And capturing special moments is something you're pretty good at. Let's take a look at the next photo you've sent in.
Sure.
This is a beautiful moment on stage where Kristy James and Paul Kelly had a little bit of a slow dance. Tell us about this one.
Yeah, so the same deal. I don't put a lot of photos up during the festival just because I'm too busy taking them. A lot of people do put a lot up, but that means you have to spend a few hours in the motel room uploading. So it's sort of the same deal. Like after the show was finished, I'm like, yeah, this is the image. This is the best image of the show. So I put it up pretty much straight away because you just get a sense when you take a photo, that's pretty good. Lots of photographers were there at this show because of being the concert for Joy McKean. Lots of photographers. I love the angle of mine, but what was special about mine is I got a message from Kristy James on Instagram the next day, which was pretty cool. And she said, "Oh, I just love that photo. You'll just have to give me a copy of that." And I said, "Do you want a proper copy?" She said, "Oh, no, I don't want to trouble you. Just give me like a social media copy." I said, "Oh, okay." So that was nice. And I saw she put that up on her social media as well, and she's got thousands of followers and full photo credit and everything else. So very happy with Kristy Chambers, but also admire her as an artist. She's got a reputation as being a really nice, genuine person. So for her to choose my image as her image, she wanted to share her I guess her concert with Joy with the world was just a huge compliment. And I love the angle of this one. Like there's a lot of variations of this photo from other photographers, but because they're kind of head on, they're looking each other in the eye. I think that's why it works. It's just kind of it's just the magic of the eye
Yeah, it
contact.
captures the moment perfectly.
Yeah.
And you can see the look on both their faces too. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And just quickly, we've got time for one more photo.
Yeah, go on. Oh, third one? Oh, yeah, so this was I think this is in 2017. So this was one of the first times I had a media pass and got, to the front of the stage, which was kind of pretty cool. And this was at the Stars Under the Stars concert on the Friday. And what was nice about this photo is it would have been this festival. I met Troy and he complimented me on my photos, which was lovely. I met him at, he does a meet and greet every year connected to his show. And when I said I'm Mr. Red Earth, he called his manager over and said, "This is this guy that takes the photos." And so for him to actually not only like to acknowledge me as a photographer is absolutely amazing. He said, "Oh, I love your photos and this and that." It's just so nice for him to say that. So he reposted this one in 2017 saying something like, "Thanks for the photos, Mr. Red Earth. You're a very talented brother." And he put that on his Instagram with everyone I didn't get a huge surge of followers like I was hoping. I mean, I might have got a little bit of a rise, but it was just nice to have that mention, call me brother, and what have you. And I just like the emotion of that one too. I think good photography captures good emotion. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can see that with the 3 pictures you've sent in today. They're 3 very special moments, and not only for the artist and on stage, but for you in your career. So as we wrap this up, I just wanted to ask you, what is the best live stream you've been watching lately, or this week in particular? Has it been a virtual concert, or what have you been watching?
I like Cassidy Ray Wilson. She's a musician from Sydney. She plays the piano quite a bit. It's just the positivity and the love she puts into her gig. She personally thanks everybody and like blows them kisses, and or maybe she doesn't blow them kisses, but she tries to make everyone feel included in the social media stream where everyone's comments get mentioned. But there's so much happiness in the way she performs, lots of big smiles and positivity, and you just feel good after watching a live stream with so many positive vibes, I suppose. So yeah, so she's pretty
Ah.
cool. She's yeah, not as well known as some of the other artists, but very positive young lady.
Yeah, that's a great tip for us. So anyone at home looking for a very positive live stream, go check out Cassidy Ray Wilson. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for joining us today. It was wonderful to hear about, behind the scenes being a country music photographer. And best of luck. We hope to see you in January at the next Tamworth Country Music Festival.
Yep, thanks very much. Thank you.
And we just heard from Chris what his favourite live stream was. Leave us a comment about your favourite live streams. Brendan says the Anaconda live stream concert last Saturday had nearly 900 people watching, and I'm guessing he was one of them. There were some great artists on that live stream. Let me know what other live stream concerts you've been watching. Sue says Celebrity Country Music Whiz last Friday night was loads of fun. It was a nail biter. It was very, very close between Neely Rich and Ashley Dallas for the crown on Celebrity Country Music Whiz, hosted by me. But thank you for the shout out on that one as well. Well, let's move to our next segment where we invite artists to share the stories behind their new songs and perform them live. Kristy James is a Newcastle-based singer-songwriter who's been performing from a very young age and is now a singing teacher, a mentor, and recording artist with a brand new single. Let's take a look at one of Kristy's music videos.
So say what you wanna say, 'cause I'm not gonna make you stay. You're living my damn life my way. Do what you gotta do, 'cause baby you're the through. You're independent, yeah. So say what you wanna say, 'cause I'm not gonna make you stay. You're living my damn life my own way. Do what you gotta do, 'cause baby you're the through. You're independent, yeah. Looks so good. Well, independent, yeah. Looks so good.
Kristy, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Well, in terms of your music career, what's changed for you in recent times, especially with everything COVID related taking over?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I think I'm actually pretty grateful and thankful that I've had a lot of things going on behind the scenes, a lot of other interests, aside from releasing music, that I've been able to work on and continue to monetize. So, as I said, like I'm one of the lucky ones, I guess. So, as much as it's been a terrible thing for the world, it's given me a bit of time to work on things that I've wanted to do and just haven't had the time to do. So.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. I feel like all these changes have given me the kick up the butt to get moving on all my online ideas that I've had, including a show like this. So you started running a business of running school discos at the age of 14. Now you have your own business, Shape Music, offering career advice to musicians. Has entrepreneurship always been part of your life?
Yeah, always. I think I've had a normal job once, and I just didn't like the structure. I just knew I always wanted to work for myself. And then I always like to be creative. So I actually have a music school as well. So a school called Pitch Perfect Music Tuition. So aside from Shape and Pitch Perfect, obviously I've got my music, but yeah, it's always been exactly what I want to do.
So you're juggling a few things at the moment, the singing, teaching business, the musician career advice business, and being a recording artist. That's a lot of things to be juggling. But you do have a new
Yeah.
single out called Here's to Being Bad. What was the inspiration behind that song?
Yeah, I guess being in the industry so long, you just realize sometimes that, and this is in life in general, I guess, but sometimes it doesn't matter how much good you do or how many times you do things right. It still doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. So I just thought, you know what? Here's to being bad. It was kind of like that angel on one shoulder, devil on the other. I don't actually feel that way, um, but I did think, sometimes, occasionally, I do feel that way, and I just thought this is a really cool idea for a song. So yeah, that's
So
where
it
that
sounds
comes
like
from.
you're saying it's a bit about rebelling against what people want you to do and pushing outside of the box and the path that people are telling you have to follow. And that
Yeah, it's
seems a
kind
bit like you.
of yeah, it's kind of like a screw you, if I'm allowed to say that. But yeah, basically.
So it's doing it your own way then.
Yeah, that's a nicer way of putting it.
That's the PC way of saying it.
Yeah, yeah, I get in trouble. I've got to be careful.
Mm. Well, I'm really keen to hear a live version of this new song. I've been checking out the recording, and you've been releasing a lot of singles every couple of months, and this is the latest one. I would love to hear a
Yeah,
live performance. Do you think you're ready to give us a little listen?
yeah, it's early for singers.
I
I'll
think
do
it
my
is
best.
after midday, but it is still early.
Okay. Catch your head, turn around. Your eyes dull like the sun going down. The realization is setting in. I don't know where you've been. One side is telling me you gotta take over while the other side is saying it's no fun to be sober. So here's to both of you. Been doing a lot of thinking, been getting real high, keeping down the deep end, been crying out at night. See nobody listen. I'm not good at being good anymore. So here's to being bad. Here's to being bad. Look at you, you're looking at me. So who is this woman in me? Said maybe I'm going crazy, or maybe I just can't be free. Someone says to me, I gotta take over while the inside is saying it's no fun to be sober. So here's to both of you. Been doing a lot of thinking, been getting real high, keeping down the demon. I'll be crying down to be and I used to be and I. Oh, oh, and every time I'm feeling, she fills me full of ecstasy. She shows me that no matter what, no matter how, no matter when, she'll always be around. Could it be and I? Here's to being bad. Here's to being bad. Ooh.
Oh, well done. Thank you so much, Kristy. That feels like it's a song with a lot of attitude, and it feels like a bit of a new chapter for you, something that you've been wanting to say in a slightly different direction on your journey of music.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of in that vein of always just kind of rebelling, like you said earlier. But yeah, it does. It's like I wrote this one on my own, so it's kind of like this is where I'm heading now.
Yeah. And was this song part of a publishing deal?
No, it's not part of a publishing deal, but it is a part of a sync licensing deal.
Sync
So
licensing.
basically, yeah. So for those that don't know what sync licensing is, it's when TV and film and video games and movies and stuff like that, they license your music for their shows. So if you're ever listening to Netflix and things like that, you'll hear the music in the background. So that's sync licensing. So that that song is part of that. So basically with that deal, I get to write whatever I want, however I want. And yeah, it just offers a lot of freedom for me to experiment with my writing.
It's fantastic to hear you're following so many different avenues in music as well, and sync can be such a lucrative source of income for musicians, and a lot of musicians don't fully explore that. I know I myself need to explore that a little bit more, but it's fantastic to see that you are pushing ahead. You're finding different sources of income to gigs at the moment, which it may take a little while before the gigs do come back. But it's great to watch everything that you're doing, and I feel like you've carved your own little space and in the music world, and you're great at what you do. And I think a lot of people look up to what you're doing and go, I wish I could be more like Kristy.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
Well, I'm not here to kiss your butt. That's just what I think. I've been watching a lot of what you do, and I'm like, she's got some great ideas. I should take note.
I've been around a long time, that's for sure.
So that's where the good ideas come from.
Yeah, you're still young.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. There's been some beautiful comments that's popped up on the screen about you while you were singing. Got lots of fans tuned in today. Really appreciate your time joining us here on the Midday Muster, and all the best with the new song, Here's to Being Bad.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, we asked you earlier in the show, what is the best live stream you've watched in the last week or so? We had some great comments pop up earlier. I'd love for you to keep leaving us some comments, because I'll be going through later to read everything you've been watching. I personally have been watching so many different concerts, and a lot of concerts have had their series finale in the last week or so. We've seen the end of Lachlan Bryan's Drunken Piano Bar. We're seeing the end of Catherine Britt's Songs and Stories, but I do hope that a lot of this online content will continue and keep us entertained far into the future, even when the gigs do come back. I mean, we all love some online shows as well, especially if they're a little bit different. So that's all we have for the Midday Muster today. Thank you so much for spending your lunch break with me. I'm your host, Dani Young, and of course, I'd love you to check out my new single, Outback Lullaby, out today. Thank you to our special guests, Christopher Liddle and Kristy James, for joining us on the show today. And a big thank you to InView TV that makes this show happen, and to Bruce Mott for producing today's episode. My name's Dani, and I will see you next time on the Midday Muster.